Hey, grade sevens. Here we are. We're on unit number 4. This is called area and circles, or circles and area. It's focusing around area, but specifically circles is kind of the new topic for the year. And this would be lesson 4.1, just investigating circles. Okay. I've drawn a circle here, and I use this tool. It's called a compass. And how it works is to draw a circle, all you do is take this pin side of it, stick it down on your paper, make sure that's pretty stiff there, and holding the top, you just let the pencil just kind of drag along nicely, okay? Make sure that pin doesn't move. If it does, find that point where you put it in and try again, and you just kind of coast it around. If you'd miss a line, that's okay. You can still go around and around and around. Don't put too much pressure on the pencil or else it'll get stuck and it might slide. Another thing, if it starts sliding too much, there's a screw here. I can use a screwdriver to tighten it. And this here that wraps around, it's made out of plastic. It wears out if you tighten this too much. Forgot to say one thing. Try to make sure that your pencil and the tip of it are about the same length, or the pencil just a little bit further. It'll just make it a little easier to use. I've found that over time. So I've drawn this circle, and I had a question that I want to ask. Is there a certain point that you can draw this line that goes across a circle that would be the longest? So if we take our ruler and I line it up here, there's a certain longest portion that it would line up. If I have my 0 lined up, that line that's 0 right on one side, and I go to the other side, there's a certain point where it's just about 8 centimeters. Okay? Just 8 centimeters there. That's the longest point it would be. And you'll notice something. When it gets to that point where it's exactly 8 centimeters, it's going straight through center. It doesn't matter where I go on this circle. If it's truly a circle, there's going to be a point where it lines up at 8 centimeters. And it goes, let me line this up, sorry. Lines up, and it's going right through the center. That measurement from one side of the circle to the other through center is called a diameter. If it weren't going straight through the center, it's somewhere else, like maybe over here, that would have a different term. When it goes all the way across and stops at either end, it's called a chord. We won't really deal with that. And for those who are wondering, if it keeps going past, like it goes through, it's called a secant line. So anyways, we have this here diameter, and diameter is the whole way across the circle. Let's color coordinate that with blue. Then there is also another measurement we can have that is from the center to the edge, straight there, and we call that the radius. The radius, and we use a lowercase r. The radius is halfway across a circle. Now with this, we can know that the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius, or the radius is the diameter divided by 2. Think about this. Over here, if we use our ruler, straight across the circle, the diameter is 8 centimeters. Okay, so here's my example. Diameter equals 8 centimeters. Well, using this formula here, diameter is 2 times the radius, or the reworked formula, radius is diameter divided by 2. If I want to find out my radius, which is what my question might ask, we use the diameter and we divide by 2. Okay, we know our diameter, write it down. Radius is what we don't know. We have a formula here. Radius equals diameter divided by 2. We are going to take our radius is equal to 8 centimeters divided by 2. 8 divided by 2, the radius is 4 centimeters. Okay, sorry, I went off the page there. And sure enough, if I go up to that circle that I drew and measure the radius, it is 4 centimeters. The radius is half of the diameter. Think about this. Radius is half the diameter. I've divided it by 2. I've made half of it. Now, what if it says, you know the radius. Here's another example. Radius equals Well, let's do this one. 4 centimeters. We don't know the diameter right now. Well, we do because we know the question. We find the one that's going to find the diameter. It's this formula. Diameter equals 2 times the radius. Diameter is 2 times the radius, which we know is 4 centimeters. Put in brackets, 2 times 4. Diameter equals 8 centimeters. So you notice that these are what we call inverse formulas. If you know one, you can actually figure out the other. I'm just going to show that down below here. So if we know that the diameter is 2 times the radius, what if we wanted to figure out the radius? What we could do to change this formula is try to get rid of this 2. Remember, this is diameter is 2 times the radius. If I want to get rid of a 2 times, what do I need to do? I need to divide by that same number. I'm going to divide by 2. But whatever I do to this side, in order to remain equal, I need to do the equal thing to the other side. Both sides need to be divided by 2. Now think about this. If you have a number and you multiply it by 2, for in this case, our radius was 4. If I take 4 and multiply it by 2, it's 8. And then I divide by 2, we're back to 4. We're back to what r was. So this ends up canceling out. A divide by 2 and a times by 2 cancels out, and all you're left with is your r. And the other side was what we had, d over 2, which if we flip the sides, will show that radius is equal to d over 2. There is a convention in math and science that you keep your variable that's by itself on the left side. So anytime you have the equal sign and it's on the opposite side, you can actually just flip the side. Because if this is equal to this, then the opposite should be true, that this is equal to this. That's where we get these formulas and why there's 2 different ones. If you know one, you can do the other just by remembering to do the opposite function. Now below here, I want to show going the other way. R equals d over 2 divided by 2, right? If we want to get d by itself, we're going to do the opposite of dividing by 2, and that would be multiplying by 2. That's a fancy way to do that. Remember, brackets touching a number means multiply. And whatever we do there, we're going to do the other side. So we're going to do 2 times r. Whatever we did to both sides, we add in. So we have 2r equals. Now think about it. Diameter, it was 8, right? Diameter divided by 2 is 4. 8 centimeters divided by 2 is 4. Times 2 is back to 8 centimeters. It's still that. So these cancel out. The times 2 and the divided by 2. So we have diameter equals 2r. I just flipped the sides here. Now, back to our examples here. I want to remind you, I do want you to write down what we know. So in a question, if it says the diameter of a circle is 8 centimeters, I want you to write d equals 8 centimeters. That defines that d is our variable for 8 centimeters. What you don't know and you're trying to find out, I want you to put an r equals a question mark. Because we're going to get some formulas that have more than just 2 variables. And it's good to keep track that you know a bunch of known things and then there's one that you don't know. Here's an example. There's a circle. It has a radius of 6.7 centimeters, 6.7 centimeters. What is the diameter? We're going to see radius of this. Radius is 6.7. So let's write down. This is the first step, the first mark for these problems. Radius is 6.7 centimeters. And we want to find out the diameter. Diameter is what we don't know. Is there a formula we know that will tell us our diameter? Is there diameter equals something? And yes, the diameter is what? 2 times the radius, right? So let's write down our formula. Diameter is 2 times the radius. The radius is 6.7 centimeters. Diameter equals 2 times 6.7. 2 times 7 is 14, so we're going to carry a 1 over. So it ends with a 4. And 2 times 6 is 12. Plus that 1 we carried over is 13. So it's 13.4 centimeters. And to estimate, this is approximately 7. 2 times 7 is 14, and this is a little less than 14. On this side, if you need to, please do this. Don't make the mistake of being overconfident. Take your multiplication. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 is 13. Count your decimal places. There's 1. Move over 1. 13.4. Okay? And don't forget to put a box around here. On the unit test, you'll get a mark for stating your variable, stating your equation, putting your variables into your equation, and then your answers, you get a mark for the unit and for that. So this question would actually be out of 5 on our unit test. Here's another example. A circle has a diameter of 123.21 centimeters. What is the radius? So we write down our diameter is d, right? We remember to write that down. It's 123.21 centimeters. And the radius is what we're trying to figure out. We do know there's a formula for this, for radius, to find the radius, and it's equal to the diameter divided by 2. So we're going to take our radius, and we're going to put our diameter, which is 123. We're just saying if this is equal to this, then wherever we see d, we could put this. So we're going to put that there, and we're going to divide it by 2. Now, you might need to do some long division on the side. Take your 2, 123.21. 2 doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 12 6 times. 12, subtract 0, bring down your 3. 2 goes into 3 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract 1, bring down the 2. 12 goes into 2 6 times. 6 is 12. 0, bring down your 1. 2 does not go into 1, it goes into 1 0 times. 0 times 2 is 0. We have a 1, but we can borrow here a 0. Remember, there's 0 here. Any of these places has zeros, and then we can write as many as we need until we end up with a remainder of 0, or we see there's a repeating decimal. So we brought down our 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. There's where we finish, because 5 times 2 is 10, and we got a 0 here. That's when we stop, when there's no more digits that are not zeros here, and we get to 0. Now, where does our decimal go? It goes directly above here. So what is our radius? It's approximately half, 120. Half is about 60, okay? So this is our answer. Our radius equals 61.605 centimeters. That's our answer. Put a box. So for this, you'll get 1 mark for writing your variable that you know. You'll get 1 for the formula. You'll get 1 for putting it into the formula. And you'll get 1 for the right answer and 1 for the unit, being the correct unit. So 5 marks.